Forgive me, Emperor, for I have sinned. It has been 23 hours since my last confession, and I've managed quite a lot of sin in that time. Welcome to the channel, welcome to another Build With Me video. Today we are going to be working on the Primaris Space Marines Invader ATV. As usual with these videos, I'm going to follow the basic build instructions with the kit, show you where you can make shortcuts, where I would recommend deviating from the instructions as they're set out, if indeed I do recommend that you deviate at all. I'll also point out any opportunities that I can see for magnetising, and finally we will also look at sub-assemblies and where to keep things off for painting. As you can imagine, these videos are probably aimed slightly more at the less experienced builder, less experienced hobbyist. However, I do like to feel that they will come in handy for anyone experienced or not who is trying this build for the first time. So the instructions start with the sides, the construction of the sides of the ATV. That's these pieces. The wheels are all identical, and as you'll see in a moment, some of the pieces that hold the wheels on are also identical and don't need to be kept separate. What I do for these videos is I clip everything off the frame beforehand, lay it all out in a nice neat pile so that I know where everything is, and then muddle it up when I come to actually film the video, just to make things a bit more difficult for myself. So we'll start with this side. This is the left hand side, or the right hand side as you look at it from the front. So this will be the front of the kit. Rear wheel comes in here. So the first thing we want is one of the wheels. As I say, these wheels are all identical. You'll see there is a little sort of piece on the inside that helps in terms of location. You can just see in here these two lugs that stick out. They conveniently slot into these slots here. So the wheel, as you can see just in there, so the wheel can only fit one way and it doesn't rotate when it's on. So consequently you don't actually need to glue that bit. What you will need to glue is this piece, which plugs in on the inside like that. So what I'm actually going to do in terms of gluing is I'll glue this piece. As ever at the moment I'm using my GW plastic glue, gently with the glue here. We don't need a huge amount. I'm just going to run that around all the edges, and then a little bit just on the inside here, to pick up the piece from the other side of the wheel. So then when that's on, I'll just plug that in there and squeeze it together. Now, as with all the current kits, they are very, very snug. This one indeed is proving extremely snug. Really did need to give that a lot of force to get that to squeeze together. It is always worth dry fitting pieces beforehand, just to make sure that you're getting them in the right place. However, do be careful that you don't overdo it, because particularly with these sorts of snug fits, if you dry fit that and squeeze it together, you really will struggle to then take the piece off to add the glue. So by all means do dry fit, but just be a bit careful, because you don't want to go too far with it. So the front wheel, again, wheel is exactly the same, and it is these two pieces that you're looking for. Again, there are two of each of these in the kit. They are identical. It's nice now that the kits are numbered. Does give you a little bit of reassurance in that respect, because you can see that they are using the same numbers for both sides of the ATV, so there's no need to worry that you are picking up the wrong piece. Those numbers are the same. So this time I'm just going to drop the glue on the wheel, and I'm going to put the larger piece. This is the one that goes on the inside of the ATV. Just put that into place, and again, just try and rotate the wheel. When it doesn't rotate, you know it's locked in place properly. And then we're going to do the same for the other side. And you may be able to see just a couple of tiny little dots in here. Just get my little pointing barbecue skewer. A couple of dots just in there. Those are locator lugs. So again, double glue along there and in there. I've probably overdone the glue on those locators, so I'm just going to use the skewer to take some off. We don't want too much on there, because it will just cause problems later by poking out and creating a blob when it dries. Push that together, and you can see by taking that excess glue off, I haven't got anything sticking out that's going to be unsightly once it's primed and ready to go. So that's the first wheel, and then that just plugs into there on that side. I'm not going to bother gluing that in. That's held quite nicely. Just for those of you, however, who dislike the ATV kit, or if you're talking to anyone that dislikes the ATV kit, this is a suspension system. This wheel moves up and down based on this sort of piece here, and if you want to raise the kit, you can actually cut through here and rotate that whole thing round to give it more ground clearance if that's what you wish. Similarly at the front here is your suspension system. Okay, there's nothing behind it, it's a plastic model of a suspension system, and you've also got springs in here inside this piece, and again, it's possible to amend this to have sort of springs popping out the bottom and to have the whole wheel attached lower down, if that's what you want. I'm quite happy with the ground clearance as they are. I'm fully happy to suspend my disbelief and to understand that at the precise moment that the model is shown, it's not got much ground clearance, but that can change. There you go, I've said my piece on that. And for all the haters out there, I like this model. So we've done that on the front. Let's go and do the same thing on the back. Just as I sometimes do with these build videos, I'm just going to have a little bit of a chat about the game rules of the kit. Thankfully, I think we seem to have seen the disappearance of the undead ATV in terms of the ability of an apothecary to resurrect one back from the dead. I did tell the guys at my club I was never actually going to use that rule because it didn't sit right with me, but thankfully it's gone now anyway. However, notwithstanding that, I still think this is a very, very useful unit within the Space Marines army. Comes with a pair of weapon options. One is a multi-melter, the other is an Onslaught Gatling cannon. I do make the distinction there, or do note the distinction there, should I say, between the Onslaught Gatling cannon and the heavy Onslaught Gatling cannon. The Onslaught Gatling cannon is 8 shots, the heavy Onslaught is 12, and it's an extra pip of strength. The extra strength doesn't make a huge amount of difference in most situations. The difference between strength 5 and strength 6, although against stuff like Death Guard and aggressors we are now seeing a bit more toughness 5 pop up in and around the game. However, this does have the sort of the light version, for want of a better phrase, of the Onslaught Gatling. And what that does mean is that one of these isn't going to have quite the same sort of impact in terms of horde killing as it might otherwise have. It does also come with a pair of auto bolt rifles in the front of the buggy, similar to sort of a standard Space Marine bike or an Outrider bike that comes in at 6 shots, strength 4, no AP. So there are two very distinct ways to run these buggies. So there we go, we've got both sides ready. And now we're going to attach a central chassis to there. It glues in at 3 points. This one, and this one. So again, no need to waste glue anywhere else. We're just going to pop some in there, some in there, a little drop in there. So yeah, there are two ways to run the buggy. One is for maximum infantry killing potential and to take the Onslaught Gatling cannon. The other then playing... Sorry, I had to fight off a minor invasion from the Adeptus Sororitas there. Wanting to know where her phone charger is. Okay, so we've plugged that one in. That side's on. We'll do the same with the other one. Where was I? Yeah. So, Onslaught Gatling cannon and twin auto bolt rifle. Total of 14 shots. Reasonable light infantry killing potential there. More so obviously if you start taking larger units. I would just point out that larger units is absolutely something you should be doing with the ATV. One on its own is not going to achieve a huge amount. Now, just what I'm doing here, just dropping some glue along this bottom part of the chassis. I'm not too worried about overspill on this occasion because that obviously is underneath and can't be seen, but I do want it to be nice and tight. So I'm going to get one of my posh new clamps here. And we're just going to clamp it together just to hold it all nice and tight while the glue dries. There you go, bit of product placement, but I won't get anything for free off that. It's just a box standard clamp, adjustable, so you can open it out and just clamp it up, and the trigger tightens it all up nicely. As you can see, just nice for holding a model together while the glue dries. And that's actually straightening up these front wheels, because without that they were splayed outwards a bit. I don't think it's something I spotted or happened on my previous version, but that sort of thing can sometimes happen, just while something's sat in the packaging, if it's got something heavy sat on it in transit somewhere. Okay, so back on track. Yeah, so absolutely take these in. I would suggest a minimum of a pair. I wouldn't really recommend taking less than 2. Ideally 3, because that gives you a little bit of redundancy in case the enemy gets the drop on them and takes one out before you get a chance to use it. So a pair of them with the Onslaught Gatlings is going to kick out 28 infantry killing shots. Most of those, 16 of those are going to be at AP -1. So it is going to do a fair chunk of damage against most units. However, one won't. I mean, yes, it has the potential to take out a decent sized squad, but by the time you've factored in misses and fails to wound, it's not going to be sort of taking out a unit of 20 boys on its own by any stretch. So the instructions here then talk about putting on the top canopy, which sort of sits in here, so I'm just going to leave that for now while this dries and just holds. And what I'm going to do while I'm waiting for that is I'm going to do the gun mount to the front for the auto bolt, for the auto bolt rifles, and I'm going to do the driver. So these two pieces are the gun mount for the auto bolt rifles. Again, as is pretty standard, we've got pegs and holes to plug everything together, make it hold nice and neat and tight. A little bit of glue, make sure we dab some into the holes, just like that, and then we'll press just like that, and there we go, that's that piece ready. And onto that we will add the auto bolt rifles. So I'm not going to bother with glue on these because of how they attach. So attaching the auto bolt rifles on, I've already drilled the barrels for these, and I did that as part of clipping and cleaning. So what you've got on these is 2 pegs, one here and a smaller one here. Now the larger peg obviously goes in the larger hole, smaller peg in the smaller hole, but the beauty of those 2 pegs is that they then hold that rifle in exactly the right angle that you want. And in addition, they mean this is really snug. It's a tight fit. It does not need gluing. Obviously, if you want to be really detailed, leave these off and you can paint the guns separately. I'm confident enough that I can paint as much of the detail as I need to with them pressed in. like that. So there we go. Just make sure I'm happy with that from a height point of view. Okay. And then again, 2 pegs on the bottom. When you look in the main part of the hull, 2 pegs there, just like that. Press it down, and we're good to go. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again here. I am so impressed with the quality and the precision of this latest bunch of marine kits, in terms of just how precisely the kit is manufactured, in terms of the fit of all the pieces. I mean, you've been watching me build it. There's no need for me to be gap filling in here. That was a slight bend in the kit, but just pressing it together while the glue set was fine, and all of these other parts really do just push together. I mean, so much of this kit doesn't need gluing and won't come apart if you don't. I really can't sort of praise it highly enough. I think I am just going to drop some more glue in there and pinch it together again. At the top end, this one's obviously just caught a bit of warpage. Either as it's come out of the mould or sort of while it's being packed in the factory, something like that. Certainly didn't have to do this on the first one that I built. Again, just sort of clamping it together while that glue sets and creates the chemical bond will be more than enough. And as you can see, that grip has just pressed those gaps together, and they will look absolutely fine. And we are done. Just grip all of this and pull all that tight as well. Put that to one side and let those dry. So we'll come back and do the canopy in a bit. Obviously, if yours isn't warped and doesn't need quite the same attention, then you can crack on with the putting the canopy in on the top, no problem. However, in the meantime, I'm just going to assemble the driver and the gunner, and we'll come back and put the canopy on at the end. It really doesn't make much in the way of difference to the overall build. What I will say actually while I'm doing this though is this is the point, or this is the canopy piece. These go at the back of the vehicle, this sits at the front and wraps around the driver, who sits sort of here. If you want to magnetise the rear gun, and again I stress you really don't need to, the rear gun fits into that hole. If you want to magnetise it, put some green stuff in here, drill your hole out for your magnet in the top, pop your magnet in, recess it into the green stuff, plug that up, and then drill or sort of put the corresponding magnet into the gun piece, and that will sit quite nicely. However, again, it's a precise piece of manufacturing. It really doesn't need it. If I just push in one of the halves of the gun here, you can see that really isn't coming out unless you want it to. There is absolutely no way that is going to fall out. You can lift the entire kit by the gun, shake it up and down. That gun is not coming off. It will come out if you specifically want to remove it, but that fitting is more than snug enough to hold that gun in place and let you swap it in and out as you wish, without the need for magnets, which saves you a bit of money. So, driver. Front half of the body, back half of the body, pegs, usual deal, and pushes together. You notice I'll do that again in a second, just so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So, front half of the body, rear half of the body. The rear halves of the bodies are different. The gunner has a peg on for the backpack. The driver doesn't have a backpack on. He plugs straight into the ATV itself, so the backpack without the peg on is for the driver. Now, if you're assembling the kit as per the instructions, at this point you want to stick the head in first. Let me just find one of the heads. Here we go, because the heads from the kit have these this little sort of T-piece on the bottom, and plugs in there like that. I'm doing a cheeky little kit bash, and with this build, again mainly because I like to troll the odd hater out there, but you'll see that in a second. So all I'm going to do is just a little bit of glue on these contact pieces, and then we'll just push the back onto the front. Make sure we push it together so that it's nice and tight. And then I'm going to glue in my alternative head. So, hopefully you will have seen the last build video that I did before this one was the Primaris Tech Marine. And I kept aside the bionic head for him. I'm going to use that on this driver. Just pop that in there, and the reason being is that I've seen several memes criticising the design of this kit in terms of how close the driver's head is to the gun, in particular the multi-melter. So I thought it would be kind of funny to suggest that this guy's been driving these ATVs for a while, and one of his gunners got the gun slightly too close to his head on one occasion, and so now he's got a bionic skull. Plus I think it gives a little bit of individual character to the kit. You can pick up lots of various spares from ranges of Space Marine kits, heads in particular. And that sort of thing can make a world of difference to a kit or a build like that. So when he's done, he slots in here in the front. Now I would again, strongly recommend not gluing him in, because when you come to paint, I will be taking him out and painting him separately, because getting your brush into this cockpit, and in particular the seat back, sort of behind him, can be a bit of a faff if he's fixed in place. So let's just have a quick practice fit of the top plate. Again, this is all pegs and holes, push fit style. Push fit very snug style. So again, there we go, nice and simple. Might just need a bit of a clamp there, not to sort of glue it, but just to pull those pieces together, just nicely. Make sure they're as firmly squeezed together as they can be. There we go. So, setting that part aside, just for now, what we then do is we attach the driver's arms to the steering column. So there we go, and then the driver's arms just push on by pegs. So what we'll do, we will glue these to the driver first. And then we'll attach the steering column. So we'll drop some glue just into here, like that. Give a squeeze on that. Same on the other side. So just coming back to sort of loadouts, we've talked about the anti-horde version. The alternative loadout is of course the multi-melter, which has now been upgraded with 2 shots, strength 8, d6 or d6 plus 2 damage if you're close enough to your target. And so, as you can imagine, combined with the movement of the ATV, 2 or 3 in a squadron can be an extreme threat to vehicles or sort of anything significant that needs that multi-wound damage to take it down in your opponent's list. And I can certainly see me running a squadron of 3 of these guys quite a lot. I love having mobility in my Space Marine lists, at the best of times, and mobile anti-tank firepower is huge, even more significant to me than standard sort of mobile firepower. So, as you can see, again, that just push fitted in there quite nicely for now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave that push fitted in. I'll just take it out when I undercoat it, and we'll move on to the last couple of bits here. So we have a roll bar that goes over the top here. That just drops in with a bit of glue, a dot of glue in each hole, not too much. And just push in. Just be careful when you're doing that, because again it is a very, very, very snug fit, and so pushing it into place, you don't want to snap the roll bar by putting pressure on it in the wrong position. Roll bar on, we've got an aerial to go in this hole here, so again just a dot of glue into there. Push the aerial in, there we go. Exhausts on the bottom. So the exhaust comes in two pieces. We've got this piece and this piece. The glue comes in here. Plug those two bits together. And that whole thing slots into here underneath at the back, just in this area here. So again we'll stick the glue in the holes, 1, 2, 3. Don't put glue in those two holes, those are for the feet of the gunner, or the legs of the gunner should I say. You just plug the exhaust in on the bottom like that. There we go. And you can see those two other holes there match up with the feet of the gunner. Don't know why they put the feet of the gunner on the back tray like that. It's really annoying because it makes it almost impossible to convert the back end of this unless you really, really, really want to spend a lot of time sort of changing up that rear area, and it does make the gunner sort of appear very static, which I don't mind, but I can see why some people wouldn't. This shield plugs on the front, and again I'm going to leave that just pushed on for now so that I can take it off, because I don't want to have to try and get a paintbrush behind that to paint it. And with that we are very nearly there. What we do still have is the gunner himself. So gunner's backpack, the one with the peg on it. All I'm going to do is drop a little glue in there and just push that in. Just let that hold while I put the front half of his body on. The glue there isn't intended to actually hold that helmet in place long term. It's just enough to stop it falling on the floor while I push the front of the half of his body on. And then just the pressure of that will keep that in place. The tight fit here. So we'll get the clamp out. Make me feel like a bit of a fraud, I have to say, when I've raved about the quality of the Primaris kits and how easy they are to put together. When it comes to this one, here I am having real difficulties with the slightly misaligned parts. But as you can see, a bit of pressure. Right way. These are some other clamps that I have, just some simple Press clamps, same shop. I think they're about 2 for £1. And actually they help you apply the pressure in just the right way. He's gone together fine now. So then peg on the back for his pistol on grenade pouches belt. I mean, this ATV, I have to say, is practically an easy to build kit. It's not marketed as one, but it does appear to have been sort of built in the same style, just with lots of sort of push fit pegs to get everything in the right place and hold it all together in a way that some of the sort of the full kit, shall we say, models aren't. As I say, it's not modelled as, it's not marketed as an easy to build kit, but it certainly bears a lot of similarities with them in that respect. So there we go, we've got the gunner sorted. Now you know what I'm going to say here. Gunner's arms, they just push on. They don't need gluing, and what you will find is that if you want to do the sensible thing and keep the weapon option up to you to swap in and out, you will want to leave those arms with some manoeuvrability and some play in there. I'm just going to pop them on the back so that you can see sort of the effect while we're building. So this brings us to the last part of this kit, which is the guns. And what I'm going to do, just because this particular model has been a bit of a pain, I'm going to make sure that I've got glue on every surface that's going to be sort of contacting another. Probably overkill, but like I say, the way this particular kit has gone, I feel like it's a reasonable response. That's the best we're going to get out of that. I would just like to reiterate, this was not how the first build of these that I did went. That was nice and smooth, and you can actually watch a video of that on my channel. It's actually a time-lapse one. I thought I'd have a bit of a laugh and a joke, so I time-lapsed the whole build with some jaunty music, and I did a paint with that as well. So that's on there. It's only about 10 minutes long, so just a bit of a giggle. Please do have a look at that if you want, and just if you want to sort of see that this is somewhat more of an unusual situation as regards the build. That was the multi-melter. So you've got the fuel canister that just sort of plugs into the side there, and then the shield slots in the top. And on the other side of things we have the Onslaught Gatling cannon. So we've got an ammo crate that slots in there. So I'll just pop a dab of glue in there for that. makes you hold it easier for gluing the other side on. That other side in there. Nice and snug. So then we just put the barrels in the front. This is angled. This slot you can just make out there. There's a slight chamfer on that, just so that these only go in one way round. And then we again have a shield that just slots in around the barrels here. So double glue just in there, a bit down there, a bit down that side. And slot the shield in and we are done. So let's do this one as a multi-mounter for now. So we just push that in there, and then, as I said, you want a bit of play in these the gunner's arms. Essentially, this bit just plugs into the side of the gun there. Just hold it in place, hold him in place, and hold it all nice and tight. So there we go. ATV constructed. Apologies, this one didn't go quite as smoothly as some of the other builds have, or as quite as smoothly as I would have liked. If I get a third one of these, I may very well redo this video, and hopefully we'll get a kit that isn't sort of slightly warped in quite the same fashion. But it's certainly playable, and isn't going to need any sort of special attention when it comes to painting it. So there we go. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe to the channel. I've got several other build videos on there at the moment. The latest of which was the Primaris Tech Marine, and I have just finished this evening priming him. We did a slight sort of tweak to the pose that comes in the kit, just with the arm there. That axe would ordinarily be sort of leaning on the ground when the way he's built. I think he probably sits in that little sort of crater hole there. So you can see how I've rotated it, but I think it gives just sort of a bit more purpose and movement into the model, as if he's sort of bringing his gun up quickly, and the arm with the axe has gone out at the back to balance it off. So yeah, that was the latest one. We've done Gladiator, we've done a Storm Speeder. I think the next one will be an Impulsor, and we'll see about the Repulsor and the Repulsor Executioner. I have got one of each of those already built, so it'll be a case of when I next want to add those into the list. I'll definitely be doing the Invicta. I want at least a couple of those in my list, and I'll probably do another Redemptor at some point as well. So plenty of them still to come. When I run out of Space Marine ones, I'll move on to some Admech or some Eldar. We'll see. Probably Admech in all honesty. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. See you in the next one.